Meet Marcus. Marcus rents a two-bedroom apartment in a mid-sized city. He pays $1,800 a month. No maintenance calls, no property tax bill, no surprise roof repairs, no lender telling him what he can and cannot do with the walls. Just $1,800 a month. Out the door. Now meet Derek. Derek just bought a home in the same city. Same two bedrooms, same neighborhood. His mortgage payment? $1,800 a month. Derek's coworkers congratulated him at work on Monday. His parents told him he had finally made a smart decision. His realtor shook his hand at the closing table and said the words everyone says at closing: "You're done throwing money away." Here's the thing about that line. It is one of the most expensive sentences in the English language. Not because it is always wrong, but because it stops people from doing the calculation that actually matters. Today, we are going to do that calculation. All of it. The mortgage interest, the property taxes, the insurance, the maintenance, the opportunity cost of the down payment, and the actual equity Derek builds year by year. Before we say a single word about who made the smarter financial decision, fair warning, the answer is not what most people expect. We will come back to Marcus in year 7, because that is when everything changes. But first, let's talk about why Derek looks like the obvious winner on day 1.
Section 1. The surface case for buying. Derek owns an asset. Marcus owns nothing. That is the entire argument. And on the surface, it sounds completely airtight. Every month, Derek makes a mortgage payment. A portion goes toward principal. He is building equity. With every single payment, he owns a slightly larger fraction of that home. In 30 years, if he stays the course, he owns it outright. A paid-off house is a real thing. You can see it. You can live in it. You can pass it to your children. Meanwhile, Marcus sends $1,800 to a landlord every month and gets nothing back. No equity, no ownership, no asset waiting at the end. When Marcus is 60 years old, he will have written checks totaling hundreds of thousands of dollars, and he will have nothing physical to show for it. This is the version of the story told at Thanksgiving dinner. It is the version your realtor leads with on the first phone call. It is the version that has sent millions of people to closing tables before they fully understood what they were signing. And it is not wrong. It is just dangerously incomplete.
Because here is what nobody puts on the table next to Derek's mortgage statement: the real monthly cost of owning that home. Not the number the lender qualified him for, the actual, all-in monthly cost of being a homeowner. Section 2. What Derek's $1,800 actually costs. Let's build Derek's real number from scratch. Derek bought a $320,000 home. He put 10% down, that is $32,000, out of pocket on closing day. He financed the remaining $288,000 at 7.1% interest on a 30-year fixed mortgage. His principal and interest payment comes out to approximately $1,934 per month. We will call it $1,900 for clean math. So far, $1,900 per month, slightly above Marcus, but close enough to compare. Now let's add the costs that never appear on the mortgage statement. Property taxes. In most mid-sized American cities, property taxes run between 1% and 1.5% of a home's assessed value per year. On a $320,000 home, that is between $3,200 and $4,800 annually. We will use $4,000, a reasonable estimate for a moderately taxed market. That equals $333 per month, every month, regardless of what else breaks. Homeowner's insurance, not optional. Derek's lender requires it. The average annual premium for a $320,000 home runs approximately $1,400 per year. That is another $117 per month.
maintenance, and repairs. This is the line item that blindsides new homeowners more than any other. The standard rule used by financial planners is 1% of the home's value per year.
On a $320,000 home, that equals $3,200 annually, or $267 per month averaged out. Some years, Derek spends almost nothing. Then the HVAC system fails. Then the water heater breaks. Then the roof needs work. The 1% rule is not pessimistic. It is a conservative baseline built from decades of real homeownership data. Private mortgage insurance. Because Derek put down less than 20%, his lender requires PMI. On a $288,000 loan, PMI costs approximately $144 per month until he reaches 20% equity. Now let's stack everything together. Mortgage payment, $1,900. Property taxes, $333. Homeowner's insurance, $117. Maintenance reserve, $267. Private mortgage insurance, $144. Derek's real monthly cost, $2,761, not $1,800. $2,761 every month. Marcus pays $1,800. The gap between them is $961 every single month. And we are about to find out what happens when Marcus does something intelligent with it.
Section 3. The opportunity cost nobody calculates. Before we talk about the monthly gap, we need to talk about the down payment. Derek did not just spend $32,000. He removed that $32,000 from the financial system entirely. That money is no longer compounding. It now sits inside the walls of a house, illiquid and inaccessible, unless he sells or borrows against it. What if Marcus invested that same $32,000 into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund on day one? The S&P 500 has returned an average of approximately 10% per year over the last 50 years. At that rate, $32,000 compounds to roughly $83,000 over 10 years. But Marcus does not stop there. Every month, Marcus takes that $961 gap and invests it into the same fund. $961 per month, compounding at 10% annually. Over 10 years, that grows to approximately $197,000. Add the original $32,000, now worth approximately $83,000, and Marcus ends up with roughly $280,000 in fully liquid, fully accessible investments after a decade. No agent fees, no closing costs, no waiting 60 days for a sale to process. Derek has a house. Now let's figure out what that house is actually worth to him. Section 4. The Equity Reality Check. This is where Derek gets full credit because appreciation is real. Derek's $320,000 home appreciates at 3.5% annually, conservative but defensible across most stable U.S. markets. After 10 years, the home is worth approximately $451,000. Now we need to look at what Derek actually owns versus what he still owes. And here is the part that stops people cold. In year 1 of Derek's mortgage, he makes 12 payments totaling roughly $22,800. Of that amount, approximately $20,300 goes to interest.
Only $2,500 reduces his actual loan balance, $2,500 out of $22,800. This is how amortization works. The lender collects its interest first. Equity builds slowly in the early years and accelerates only in the back half of the loan, the half most homeowners never reach before they sell or refinance. Derek's loan balance year by year. End of year 1, approximately $285,500. End of year 3, approximately $279,900. End of year 5, approximately $273,500. End of year 7, approximately $266,200. End of year 10, approximately $254,000. After 10 years of payments totaling $228,000, Derek has reduced his balance by only $34,000. His home is worth approximately $451,000. His remaining loan is approximately $254,000. Gross equity, $197,000. But Derek cannot pocket $197,000. When he sells, he pays a real estate agent. Standard commission is between 5 and 6% of the sale price. On a $451,000 home, that is roughly $25,000. He also pays seller-side closing costs, title fees, transfer taxes, attorney fees, approximately $4,500 more. Net equity after selling costs, $197,000 minus $29,500, or approximately $167,500. Marcus, $280,000 liquid. Derek, $167,500 in equity, only accessible by selling his home. Marcus leads by approximately $112,500 at year 10. But we said we would come back to year 7. Here is why that moment matters.
Section 5. The break-even point. In year 7, something shifts in Derek's favor. His PMI has disappeared. He crossed 20% equity through a combination of payments and appreciation around year 5. That puts $144 per month back in his pocket. His home has appreciated significantly. 7 years of 3.5% annual growth brings the value to roughly $409,000. His loan balance sits around $266,000. Equity, approximately $143,000 and climbing. But here is what Marcus is dealing with in year 7. His rent has gone up. Rents in the United States have risen an average of 3 to 5% per year over the last 2 decades. Marcus started at $1,800 per month. By year 7, even at the conservative end, his rent is approximately $2,150 per month. In a competitive rental market, it is likely $2,300 or more. Meanwhile, Derek's mortgage payment is still $1,900. It will be $1,900 in year 10, in year 20, and on the day he makes his final payment. That fixed payment is a genuine long-term structural advantage. Inflation erodes the real cost of Derek's debt every single year. Meanwhile, Marcus's rent keeps pace with inflation and often exceeds it. The gap that favored Marcus in year 1 is narrowing. By year 10, it has narrowed meaningfully. By year 12 to 15, in most stable markets, Derek's cumulative financial position overtakes Marcus. That is the break-even point, and it moves depending on 3 variables: local appreciation rates, how aggressively Marcus invests, and how fast rents rise in his market. Anyone who gives you a universal answer without plugging in those 3 numbers is guessing.
Section 6. The condition that changes everything. Here is what Renting Wins math always buries in a footnote. Marcus has to actually invest the difference, not spend it, not let it sit in a checking account, not gradually absorb it into lifestyle costs that expand to fill the available income. He has to actually invest $961 per month every month for 10 years without touching it. Most renters do not do this, not because they are irresponsible, because nobody frames renting as an investment strategy. The conversation is framed as a lifestyle choice, so renters rent and spend. Buyers buy and build equity by default, because the mortgage forces them to save, whether they want to or not. That forced savings mechanism is real, and it is underrated. Millions of Americans have built their entire net worth through home equity, not because real estate is automatically the superior asset class, but because the mortgage payment was the only savings tool they used consistently. So here is the reality. If Marcus invests the difference, Marcus wins in most high-cost markets over a 10-year period. If Marcus does not invest the difference, Derek wins, slower, with more risk, but definitively. And that's the verdict nobody gives you.
Section 7. The real number. Buying wins when you plan to stay for at least 7 years. When your local market has a reasonable price-to-rent ratio. And when you can genuinely afford the all-in monthly cost, not just the mortgage payment, the full $2,761. Renting wins when you live in a high-cost city with extreme price-to-rent ratios, when your timeline is uncertain, and when you will actually take the monthly savings and invest them systematically. Both paths can build wealth. Neither path is automatically smarter. The phrase, renting is throwing money away, was not invented by economists, and it was not invented by financial planners. It was invented by an industry that earns its living at closing tables. Every time someone buys a home, agents earn commissions, lenders earn origination fees, title companies take their cut. Nobody in that transaction profits when you decide to keep renting and invest instead. Now that does not make buying wrong. Home ownership has built real wealth for real families for generations. Appreciation is real, the fixed payment advantage is real, and the stability of owning your own space is real. But none of that makes it automatically the right decision for you. At this price, in this market, at this moment in your life. Derek is not a fool for buying. Marcus is not wasting his life by renting. The difference between them is not which decision they made. The difference is whether they understood the real number behind that decision before they made it. That is what this channel is here for. Subscribe to Real Number Theory. Every week, the math they do not show you.